Good morning. I'm glad to see that you all made it here today. I hear there's a visitor in Philadelphia, and maybe there are a few road closures or some changes in place. I know I was shocked when I came to a screeching halt on 95 and nothing was moving. A little nervous there, but thankfully I think the motorcade passed and we were allowed to go after about a 10-minute delay. So they're expecting up to 1 million people to celebrate the World Conference of Families and welcome Pope Francis to Philadelphia. And as you know, it's been on the news once or twice or maybe nonstop for the last week. And while the Pope's visit is important to Catholics and to the city's tourism department and indeed to all of us as an historical event, it's not the only important religious event that's happening this week. Thursday marked the end of the Jewish High Holy Days, the days of awe that began on September 13th with Rosh Hashanah and ended with Yom Kippur on Thursday. In Judaism, there's a book of life and a book of death, or the book of the dead. The names of the righteous are written in the book of life, and the names of the wicked are written in the book of death. Rosh Hashanah, which in Hebrew translates to head of the year, marks the time when God contemplates and evaluates his creation. An annual review, so to speak. On Rosh Hashanah, the book of life and the book of the dead are opened. Jews are given a period of 10 days to return to God, to amend their behavior and seek forgiveness for wrongs against God and others through repentance, prayer, and good deeds before God completes his review and seals everyone's fate on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. These high holy days are a time of introspection and reflection, a time to look inward and truly examine yourself and your relationship to that which you consider divine. It's a time to forgive ourselves and others, which we all know is sometimes no small task. But it's a necessary task. In the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, forgiveness says you are given another chance to make a new beginning. How will you use this chance? Will you go back to the same behavior as before, or will you truly seek to be different? Will you stand on the side of love going forward? You can. 2 weeks ago, during water communion, you spoke of bringing love and forgiveness to community. You named them as important things to bring on our spiritual journey this year. So today we're going to explore forgiveness a little bit deeper and discover what it means to begin again in love. The Jewish High Holy Days are about atonement, seeking forgiveness for wrongs against God and others. In Judaism, this is achieved through prayer, repentance, and charity. The manner and method of prayer is very specific, a tradition passed down over many centuries. Repentance is about regretting having committed the sin, resolving not to commit the sin again, and confessing the sin before God. This is followed by an outward act of giving, a charitable act that covers the offense committed. I could spend the whole day talking about the intricacies and practice of the High Holy Days. Don't worry, I won't. But there are lessons that we can learn from the days of awe and from the notion of cleaning the slate and beginning again. There's much to be gained from the exercise of repentance and the grant of forgiveness. We've all experienced hurt at some time in our lives, probably many times in our lives. Someone did something to us that caused great pain. In 1998, I lost my brother Doug. As a kid, I worshiped him. I looked just like him, and we were both the spitting image of our father. Doug taught me about jazz, how to check the oil in a car, and how to take care of my toys and things that I considered precious. Doug was a senior in high school when our father died. I was only 7. After graduation, he left home to join the military. And on visits home, he would bring me mementos of his travels from around the world. I loved my brother, but like all of us, he had his own challenges. For most of his adult life, he battled depression and alcoholism. The latter would cause him to lose his driver's license and to take up cycling. First out of necessity, but later it turned into a passion that would see him bike across the United States twice. He biked everywhere. And on March 25th, 1998, while riding his bike to work, he was struck and killed instantly by a man who had more than 30 DUI arrests on his record. I faced him in court and testified at every one of his parole hearings in an effort to keep him in jail. And yes, I forgave him. When you refuse to forgive others for the pain they've caused you, you only hurt yourself mentally and physically. It took me a minute to learn that, but I did. Often, our first instinct is to seek revenge. This is a natural human reaction. You hurt me, so I'll hurt you. The logic is that if you see that I'll hurt you back, you'll leave me alone next time. You'll think twice about picking on me because you know I'll fight back. You know that rush you feel when you plot and carry out an act of revenge? That's actually the stimulation of the dorsal striatum in your brain. It's the rewards area. It's the same area that tells you that you deserve a chocolate bar as a reward for exercising. Doesn't sound like a very good long-term plan for dealing with wrongs. Maybe you decide instead to carry a grudge, or as Rabbi Deborah Orenstein says, to nurse a grudge. We line up the evidence that we have against others and review it, continually refreshing our wounds. Science has proven again and again and again that holding grudges can cause stress, raise your blood pressure, increase your risk for heart attack and stroke, and upset your immune system by blocking the protein molecules that carry messages between cells. It can even exacerbate existing mental health problems. Holding a grudge can hurt you more than the original offense. So is it worth it? But how do you forgive someone who's hurt you? As Marianne Williamson says, forgiveness is not always easy. At times, it feels more painful than the wound we suffered to forgive the one that inflicted it, and yet there is no peace without forgiveness. She's right. Peace is the goal. It's not about fixing the other person, the one who hurt you, or about getting back at them. It's about healing yourself. And in the words of theologian Louis Smedes, forgiving is not a blessing you bestow on someone who's hurt you. It's a way to heal your own pain. Again, it sounds great, but how do you do it? The first step is to stop wishing harm on the other person. I know I'm not the only person in this room who has wished harm upon someone who hurt me. And I'm not talking about grievous bodily harm, but still a little bit of harm. So years ago, a former coworker did something dishonest that caused me to miss out on a major opportunity. And I'll admit, that I spent a few weeks wishing, waiting, and hoping for her to get caught and for the whole scheme to come crashing down on her. And it did. But I didn't feel any better. Another example. I watched a few minutes of the Emmy Awards last week. You know how they keep the camera on the faces of all the nominees as the winner's name is read? I'm pretty sure that at least one of the losers was hoping that the winner would trip on their way up to the stage. It's human nature. That's what we do. But it's not healthy if we're trying to reach inner peace and forgiveness. Forgiveness demands that you not only stop wishing harm on the other person, but that you wish them well. Wish them love and Godspeed. After all, forgiveness is the final form of love. So wish them love. I know it's hard, but I truly believe in radical love as a cure for the world's ills. Radical love goes beyond tolerance and beyond acceptance. It's love at all costs and without limit. Radical love means love for everyone, even those you disagree with politically, morally, or ethically. Even those who've hurt you. Radical love is about loving them anyway. And this is the kind of love that forms the basis of forgiveness. So the next step is to move on. Move forward. Get on with your life. You can't go back in time and change what was done. And I'm not saying that you have to forget what happened. I will never forget my brother. I have pictures of him in my home, and honestly, I see him every time I look in the mirror. His death and the toll it took on me changed me forever. I appreciate my family because I know that any one of them can be gone in an instant. I keep my affairs in order, mindful that someday one of my nieces or nephews might have to find my insurance policies the same way I had to find my brother's papers. I do not drink and drive. Doug's death is part of my story, just as the thing that happened to you is now part of your story. The things that hurt us in the past don't define us. We're more than the sum total of the hurts we've suffered. Even though we don't feel those pains anymore, they still color who we are. It's like a scar from an old wound. You can see it, and you can feel it, but the pain of the wound itself is now gone. What if you're the one who needs to be forgiven? What if you've hurt someone else? Or maybe you've hurt yourself? The first step is to admit that you did it. The Ziz had to admit it and say sorry. Then stop doing it, whatever it is. Whether it's smoking, drinking, manipulating, lying, avoiding, bullying, cheating, whatever it is, just stop. And if you can't stop on your own, don't be ashamed or embarrassed to seek help. If it's something you did on a one-time basis, don't do it again. This is important. Otherwise, you can't move on. Accept that you can't go back in time and do something different. You can regret that you hurt someone, but you can't undo it. We can't change the past. It's done. You were doing the best you could do at the time. And I've heard people say to me, that's crazy, but I firmly believe it. It doesn't mean that what you did was the best thing. It just means that it was the best thing you could do at the time. Maybe you felt under attack from all sides, and you reacted the only way you knew how. Maybe you were in pain yourself, and you lashed out like a trapped, scared, wounded animal. Whatever was going on in your life at that moment, you considered the action you took to be your best available choice. And as a result, someone was hurt. Many of us have seen this happen in our own relationships. We saw it in the story even. But consider this, at home, you're stressed out at work, and you lash out at your kids or your spouse, and you end up hurting them. It's not intentional. You would never dream of hurting those you love. Your actions weren't the best, but at the time, in the place where you were, it was all you could do. But maybe you're more mature now, better educated. Maybe you've received counseling or treatment that helps you make better choices now. Whatever new knowledge or power you have today, you didn't have it then. And that's okay. Stop beating yourself up. It won't help. Come clean to your child or spouse or whoever you hurt. Admit that you hurt them. Apologize. You can't make them forgive you. You can only forgive yourself, commit to do better, and then do better. I'm on a mission right now to lose 100 pounds. I was doing very, very well, and then I started my new job and seminary. I was 73 pounds down with 27 to go, but I gained back 6 pounds, so now I have 33 to go. I could beat myself up or even give up. Either way, it wouldn't do any good. I can't magically undo those extra 6 pounds as much as I wish I could. So instead, I had to forgive myself. Instead of punishing and berating myself, I loved myself. And then I resolved to be more disciplined and not gain back any more than those 6 pounds. I created a new baseline for myself, but it doesn't stop there. To get rid of the whole 33, I have to move forward and do things differently. Commit to eat more healthfully. Commit to go to the gym even after I've worked all day and will be up all night reading about Michael Servetus or the Cambridge Platform of 1619. I can do it. And now I have the added pressure because I've told all of you and you'll be watching me. But it's okay. I can forgive myself and move forward in love, just as you can forgive yourselves for anything that you've done and move forward in love. So is there some old habit or guilt that no longer serves you, but that you're still holding on to? Let it go. Just let it go. Rabbi Ornstein says, today, allow yourself to imagine your biggest regret lifted from you. No matter how big, how old, ingrained, known, or unchangeable an offense might be, it can still be healed. Now is the time for redemption. Repair what you can, renew your commitment to do better, and rejoice in being forgiven. According to Gandhi, forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. And you are strong. I know it. Much stronger than you know. Promise me you'll remember. You're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Who'd have thought that Gandhi and Winnie the Pooh would be our Sunday morning wisdom? Love is the supreme power of the universe. It lifts us up when we feel most broken. It shines its light into our darkest corners and shows us the way. Love heals all. If someone hurt you, wish them love and move on. If you hurt someone or hurt yourself, Do what you need to do to make it right. Commit to do better next time. And move forward with a new attitude of love. You have the power. You can do this. Every moment is a new opportunity, so take it. Begin again in love. May it be so.